Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Conquest Call-In Show, which we all know by now is every Friday, and it's your show. This is the only show we know of where you, the fan, is the star. We may not be the last, but we were the first to provide USC Trojans a voice on the internet here on YouTube, and this is your opportunity. The number is 888-997-4539, 888-99 Riley. I'm Tim Prangley, along with my editor over at Trojans Wire, Matt Zemek. We're here again every Friday at 7 p.m., 10 Eastern, to take your calls. Matt, how you doing today?
Well, you know, Gary from Dana Point, if you're going to call in, I'm going to give you my metaphor for USC football right now. The fireworks kept going deep into the night. I was, trying to comfort my dogs in the living room, but 12:30 a.m., 1:30, the fireworks didn't stop fully until 3:30 in the morning, and the dogs kept barking. So Gary from Dana Point and everyone else watching here at the Voice of College Football, that's what it feels like to be a USC football fan, because Oregon and Dan Lanning just keep reeling in the 5 stars, and the barking, that it's not going to stop until USC is able to really do something about it.
And that's really what it comes down to. We can talk all we want about the great moves we made in the offseason with the coaching staff. There's no denying that. You're going to see dividends this season with the coaching staff USC has in place. I think USC has a solid 22. I'll take our 11 against your 11 on both sides of the line any day of the week. Question is, into the fourth quarter, how deep will we be? In October, in November, how dinged up and how deep will we be? We go into a 12-team playoff. If we make the playoffs, how deep can we get to that playoff? All these are questions that are answered by the depth you have on your roster. And taking L after L in the recruiting, I will remind everyone, if like we've seen, just because you get a commitment here in the summer or spring doesn't mean you get to have it in the fall. And it only matters who's signing in December, and we've already seen that. Actually, it doesn't even matter who's signing December and February. You can go get a signature, and then they're gone by the end of spring training camp. So you got to hope that there is some positive momentum. Tomorrow, there is a big opportunity with Riley Pettijohn, the 5-star linebacker from Texas. We will see on that. Everything I'm hearing is USC was in the driver's seat. Everything was looking great. But there's been a last-minute push by Ohio State, and it really looks like this thing's slipping away. And it's pointing directly to the NIL situation at USC. At some point, this is... we can't keep thinking that everything's fine. It's like that meme reminds me of the guy, the dog and the fire in the background. Everything's fine here. I mean, at some point we have to start asking who's accountable for this situation, because I could look totally stupid, and I hope I am tomorrow, and Pettijohn signs on the dotted line. Just, I've got a lot of doubts at this point, and I would absolutely love to be wrong. Again, you guys, this is your call-in show, 888-997-4539. I begin to wonder if the phone lines are working, because usually we would have at least 2 or 3 calls by now. So you guys in the chat, let me know if you're trying to call in and having issues. Please let me know. But I do believe that the phone lines are up and working, waiting for a phone call. So Matt, we also got a commitment from two guys this week. One started off the week with Corey Sims last Sunday, I believe it was. 6'3", 205 receiver, big kid from St. Louis, Missouri. Really big pickup, because Missouri's, a lot of you guys might not know, but they've been doing some heavy hitting recruiting. They got a pretty good NIL budget over there as well for USC to go head to head for elite wide receiver and grab him is a great sign. I mean, I like what we're doing. I feel very confident about Juju Lewis. So on the offensive side of the ball, everything is looking great. It's just we keep taking hits on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll get back to that in a minute, but we got our first call coming in. Hello, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
It's Buckeye Mike, and I'm calling from Just wanted to get
Mike,
your guys'
Mike, hang on.
thoughts.
Mike, hang on one second. Did I drop for a second there? I feel
Yeah.
like, okay, Mike, Buckeye, go ahead.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody caught, but happy 4th to you guys. Hope it was a good one. And I just kind of wanted to get you guys' thoughts kind of on the direction that USC football program seems to be going under Lincoln Riley. If you kind of feel like maybe that at some point there needs to be a move towards maybe a replacement. I mean, I know they've been kind of up and down lately. Recruitment's been kind of off, and I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on just kind of, I guess, the current outlook of the state of the program.
Okay, appreciate that. Well, let me hit that really quickly. So the outlook of the program, I think, is fine overall. I do believe the funding is there for the NIL. I do believe that USC, the administration is behind the football program like we haven't had in quite some time. I think Carol Folt on down, Jennifer Cohen, our AD, and Lincoln Riley. Those people I have no issue with. Matt had made a good point though, with as far as Jennifer Cohen's concerned. She does need to be held accountable for the situation going on with the NIL. I can't imagine that USC does just. I get it. So we're going to lose some to Ohio State. We're going to lose some to Oregon. But it just seems like we're losing all of them, Matt. It just seems like we're just getting. It's like a bloodbath. And we have kids that are interested. The coaches do their jobs, and then they get lost. But if you're talking about, I think Lincoln Riley is a top 5 coach, and I will maintain that as well. You know, we've heard for the longest time that all he needs is a good defense, and he has that with Danton Lynn. In the offseason, USC brought in a great defensive staff. We're going to see this year, right? And we could be excited about how great it looks on paper, but we won't know until this year. And Buckeye Mike trying to erase what Lincoln Riley has done off of one bad season, because that's really all it's been. The year before, he had 11 wins. Last year was a bad year for him and a bad year for USC. But I'll tell you what, there's probably about 75 to 80 teams across the country would love to have 8 wins every year. So, I mean, yes, down by USC standards.
Oh, yeah.
I think that what you have to realize is, and I've said this many times on the show, Rome was not built in a day. And when you run a program into the ground like USC did under 6 years of Clay Helton, you're not going to get out of it in 1 year. So I think that having an amazing player like Caleb Williams was able to mask a lot of the problems and how bad the program had gone down the tubes under Helton and hanging on to Helton for so long. And obviously hanging on to Alex Grinch. He was able to kind of mitigate those issues in 1 year, but then the offensive line fell apart, the depth on the offensive line, and we saw last year. Matt, I'd like to hear your thoughts on where do you think the program is right now?
Well, you know, we talk about the state of the program. We talk about the state of the program nearly every week here because, well, we have nothing else to do until the regular season starts and until August camp starts. We're going to get some fresh, new, tasty storylines. Also, Big Ten Media Days coming up in a few weeks. So in a couple of weeks, like the off season is going to end, and we're actually going to be talking about the season itself. But while we're still in this off season mode, one can only reiterate the basic truths. One, Lincoln Riley wasted a year by bringing back Alex Grinch, and it set back the program, and he's still paying the price for that. Two, Jen Cohen inherited a situation. You know, she came aboard in August of last year. So everyone thought, oh, Jen Cohen's just going to come in with the program at high tide, and she's just going to have to do maintenance. Like I'm sure she didn't expect when she came aboard in August of 2023 that she would have to repair USC football, but she's had to because Lincoln Riley endured that miserable 5-loss season. She had to hire defensive coaches, which, by the way, she deserves credit for, you know, ponying up to make sure that Lincoln Riley got a top quality defensive staff. Like, she deserves credit for that. But Jen Cohen has definitely been caught off guard with NIL. Like, she is playing catch up. She was not ready for the enormity of the deficit that USC faces relative to, in particular, Ohio State and Oregon. And so she's playing catch up. Now, she didn't expect to be in this position because she thought, like most of us, that USC was going to win 10 or 11 games last year, wasn't going to lose ground with recruits the way it has been. You know, like the damage of last season. We have to acknowledge the damage that last year did. But of course, like, we shouldn't give excuses to Jen Cohen. If you sign on to be the athletic director at USC, you need to be prepared. You need to be ready for what's coming around the bend. And Cohen's long-term vision has not been as clear as it should be. And so she's several steps behind. It's not entirely her fault, but with these accumulated losses, these accumulated humiliations over the summer, like, she's definitely needs to get it fixed for the next cycle. Now, folks saying that Jen Cohen should be fired, you can't fire an AD after 1 year. Way too short, right? And again, Lincoln Riley having the bad 2023 season, that more than anything Jen Cohen has done is why USC is in this position. But let's keep in mind, if you fire Jen Cohen after 1 year, are you going to get a prime candidate, a prime replacement for her? People are not going to want to take this job if you do something like that. You have to give people time and space on the job. But of course, admitting that, you also have to say, Jen Cohen, you need to be on top of situations. That is what you're paid for. You need to be seeing the big picture. You need to be seeing the moving parts on the chessboard, and she's behind the curve, and she needs to get up to speed. There's no question about that.
And quite frankly, man, I'm going to ask you this point, Blake. Do you think Jen Cohen needs to be relieved? Because I think she's done a great job here. The question mark is the NIL, but the NIL was a mess when she showed up here, and you can't just flip that around. I agree. Right. She has been here, and there needs to be improvement. And I didn't really, I mean, I'm embarrassed to say it, I wasn't really looking at the Jen Cohen aspect of it, but this falls squarely on the AD to get this, because you know damn well that the ADs and other programs have this stuff tight. So, I mean, I don't think you're calling for her job. And there's people out there, but, you know, there's USC fans everywhere always wanting people to get fired right away, you know?
Yeah. I brought up the topic because people in the chat are saying she needs to be fired.
Right.
That's why I brought it up. And so
you got to look at the entirety of the situation. You know, yes, the NIL is not where we want to be. I'm sure it's not where she wants it to be. I'm sure it's not where anywhere is where they want it to be. But she walked into this mess, and a lot of these programs that are rolling, they didn't just pop up overnight and get this going. There is a process to this. I know a lot of fans don't want to hear that. Now, she doesn't have unlimited time. I mean, I'm sure it's probably number one on her list of things to sort out, because pretty soon we're getting decommitments from players. When do we start getting decommitments from coaches who, again, there was supposed to be vertical alignment here? You know, you're going to leave Oklahoma because you weren't getting supported in Oklahoma. You come to SC and you're not getting supported here. I'm telling you guys, Jared, you know, as much as people want to say, oh, Riley this, you know, and Mike, you saying that when are we going to fire Riley? We're not going to. Number one, he's a great coach. He'll go to the NFL. That's where he'll go. I mean, he doesn't need to sit here in college football. He will get a pro job. So thank you, Mike. Appreciate you calling in. Thank you. We love hearing from other fan bases, especially call back again anytime. All right, Mike?
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
All right. All right, guys. Phone lines open. 888-99 Riley. Give us a call. Let us know what you think. It's just a reaction of everyone, isn't it, always just to fire people. And I'm telling you, we were all singing Jen Cohen's praises for last, in the offseason. Now all of a sudden things aren't going our way, breaking our way. I'm not sure, how long this is going to take to get sorted out, but it won't be fixed overnight. The question will be is going forward, can it be fixed? And if she can't get it fixed, then clearly they would have to move the district. But we're so far away from that. I'm still remembering, and fans are very fickle. Look at the defensive coaching staff that we have at USC right now. That's got Jennifer Cohen written all over it. And don't forget who hired DeBoer over at Washington. I'm just gonna say before he left over to go to Alabama. Hi, Clark. What's your name? Where you come from?
Hey, what's going on? Tim, it's 916 Trojan, man. Sacramento, California.
Hey, how you doing? Is Sacramento Trojan or 906 Trojan?
Yeah.
All right, nice to finally hear you.
Trojan from Sacramento.
Excellent.
I know, right?
What's on your mind, man?
You know what? A lot, but I'll just keep it simple. USC fans need to relax, man. Every time something goes wrong, they want to just go and fire this person, fire that person. Like, bro, we all know what's going on. It's NIL. It's not the coaches. So let's stop saying the coaches. And like you just said, they need help too from the AD. If they have no help, they might want to leave too as well. So you can't just say, fire this person. We might not have a coach next year. Well, not next year, but end of the day, we brought in Coach Henry with his experience, right? And we've seen him grab guys like Justice Perry and all these guys coming to visit that we wouldn't have a visit in the past. But now we're sorry, I have a baby. One second.
That's all right. You're good.
There's another fan complaining about USC NIL.
Yeah, someone's not happy about the NIL as well. I agree. Yeah, I think we are trying to get people. That's all right. I mean, I'm sure 906. I think we are trying to get people to just relax. But at the same time, listen, that's what this show's about. I mean, hey, be pissed off as well. You guys have expectations. We as much as we want to be arrogant and say we're USC, well, then we are USC. And so, if you don't provide, if you're going to call us the Mecca of college football, right? If the fan bases and people like myself are talking about how great we're going to be, fans have every absolutely right to call and say, hey, what the hell? How come we're losing out to Oregon? We're losing out to A&M. We're losing out to possibly losing out to Ohio State. That there is a reason to be concerned. And I'm with you, though. I don't think it's the quality of AD. I don't think it's the quality of coaches. They got to sort this stuff out. But at the end of the day, I agree with Matt. It does fall on the AD to get this thing sorted out. And she's on the clock.
Yeah, I can definitely see that happening because there's no way that USC should be this bad at NIL. I don't understand, but obviously this year will show a lot, so I'm not panicking just quite yet. So I'm still being patient with it.
Yeah, and I think that's a prudent thing to be patient. Absolutely. Anything else for us?
Exactly. Well, tomorrow's a big day for linebacker. What's his name? Pettijohn. Yeah. I know it's between USC and Ohio State, so we'll see.
Yeah, and someone, where was it? Someone was saying, who was this? Joe Boyd. Joe Boyd, the mom didn't lie. You tell me what she said. She never said her son was coming to USC. Some fans, you got to chill out. The mom never made a commitment. She wouldn't do that. It's her son's choice, number one. Number two, she wouldn't steal his thunder. I think she just simply called Matt Entz the closer, and people ran with that. That doesn't mean that he's coming here. So you guys, fans, relax. The mom never said anything. So chat, you guys got to relax a little bit. But yeah, hey, listen, 906, appreciate you calling from Sacramento. Awesome. You got the first one in the books. Hope you call back next Friday.
Yes, sir. Fight on.
All right, you guys. Phone line open again. 888-99-RILEY. Give us a call. Let us know what you think about USC recruiting, about the season. Listen, it doesn't have to be about NIL and the recruiting. It doesn't have to be about Riley Pettijohn. We can talk about anything. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Christian, Mission Viejo.
Hi, Christian. How you doing?
Living the dream. How are you?
I've been better, but yesterday was great. I hope you had a nice 4th of July. There's bigger things than losing out. And by the way, we haven't lost out a recruit. I mean, I would love to be wrong tomorrow. Pettijohn signs with the Trojans. It's NIL. It's not the end of the world. And also, as someone brought up in the chat, even if he does sign, if any of these guys sign, we've learned it doesn't mean anything until December. So keep that in mind as well. So what's on your mind, Christian?
Yeah, so I know you guys were just talking about Jen Cohen and how she should take some accountability for what's been going on related to NIL. I was just wondering your thoughts and opinions of Dave Emmerich and his role and input as a general manager.
It's a great point as well. So for those of you guys that aren't familiar, Dave Emmerich came over from, I believe, Mississippi State. Was that right, Matt? He worked with Mike Leach and that whole Riley Leach connection. came over to USC, and he's kind of been that operations guy at USC for Lincoln Riley. He's been getting a lot of heat. As a matter of fact, some of the stuff I've heard, I'm sure I'll even talk about it, but basically even going specifically to this Pettijohn situation, names keep popping up, and his name is one of the names that keeps popping up. Going back to a couple of weeks ago, I heard things about the athletic department. None of it's really changed. But again, Dave Emmerich's name keeps popping up. I actually don't have any information directly about his role and what he's not doing or what he is doing. But I can tell you from people that know a heck of a lot more about the program than I do keep hearing his name. Matt, how about you?
Haven't heard anything specific.
Did you want to share anything, Christian?
I'm sorry?
Like I said, I'm not repeating stuff that I've heard because I'm just hearing stuff. And I will say I'm hearing from people that I have a lot of faith in, but I don't want to repeat stuff I don't have firsthand knowledge of. Is there anything you wanted to share?
No, I've been kind of hearing some rumbling too, so I just kind of wanted to see if there was anything out there that you guys are open to sharing. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. I do have one more question if you're done covering that though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've heard rumors. I've also, you might want to check in tomorrow, Gabe over at Trojan Blade. I think he's doing a video that may have him more information that you might want to hear. If you're not familiar with the channel, make sure you check him out. The link to his channel is in the description of this video. So what was your other point you wanted to make?
Thank you. My next point, I was just wondering, how much do you think the defensive coaches, like the ones that they just hired, how they're likely wanting coordinator or head coaching jobs, how much do you think that's affecting recruits' decisions to commit?
That's a great point, and that might be some negative recruiting being used against them. But I mean, they just got here, so you got to figure they're going to be here for a couple of years. I don't think we're seeing anybody on the staff's going to be gone in 1 year. I mean, who knows? USC wins the national.
Okay.
USC wins the national championship. The line is just destroying people, and then Danton Lynn has a 2008-esque season where they're giving up less than 10 points a game and holding teams at 80 yards rushing. Yeah, then maybe we might lose him to the NFL or to another job. But I'm going to guess in one year, I think that these guys will be around for a couple of years. And here's another thing: you really can't. These kids that do decide to go to a school based on a coach, and that you go to your position coach, right? That's the guy who's with you the most. But I mean, these coaches leave too, and it's the same thing at an Ohio State or at an Oregon or an Alabama or a Georgia. There are circumstances where it's going to happen. I do agree with you though. I mean, Matt Entz, for instance, an example. This is a man who's pretty much on record saying that he is here to get some experience at the D1. Not D1, the FBS level. Because that's what he was hearing when he was looking for FBS jobs, that he didn't have that FBS experience. I get that point. Whereas at other schools, you have guys that, for instance, Brian Hartline, who's at a position for a long time. I get what you mean, the longevity of it, and whereas these guys seem they might be transient. That's a very valid point. I don't know how much that goes into individual choices, but that's a very solid observation. Matt? You good?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Well, listen, Christian, excellent call. I hope you call it back, and make sure you do check out Gabe tomorrow.
Will do. Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. Fight on, Christian.
Thank you. Fight on.
Yeah, and here's another one. Joe, someone upset you today. All Mark Culkin is doing is he's just reporting on what he hears. You guys remember, this is recruiting. It is very, very, as a matter of fact, Mark Culkin used the word fluid. This stuff is fluid. And one day it's this, next day it's that. NIL has changed a lot of things. No one's spreading rumors. He's just reporting to you information. Do not shoot the messenger. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, AJ from LA, but I'm calling you from the OC.
Oh, you got confused me. AJ from LA calling from the OC. Got you. AJ, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I actually agree a little bit with Matt. There's a lot of problems with the program, and I think it really does go back to Riley. He should have never brought Grinch over in the first place. He had a proven track record that wasn't real good, And I think that affected recruiting and keeping players on both sides of the ball, not just the defense, but the offense as well. The other thing I kind of wanted to bring up, and I'm a lifelong Trojan fan. I've been going there since Charles White and those guys were over there playing. Marcus Allen,
Anthony
when
Munoz
McDonald was a quarterback. So,
Buddy, yeah, those guys were
what's
awesome.
that?
Anthony Munoz, Brad Buddy, that was an amazing team there. Absolutely. Don't forget.
So I've been a lifelong Trojan fan, but what's really got me kind of, we're hearing rumblings from different channels about broken promises to the players, and there's a big problem with the NIL. But it seems like SC's had problems, to be quite frank, ever since they let go of Coach O. And that ever since then, we've had nothing but trouble over there. Now, I understand it's a different era, but Riley bringing Grinch over, it's affected things years to come. And with that kind of coaching contract he got, it doesn't make sense why you would bring that in. The school's already trying to rebuild, and that started us off with damage right from the gate.
You bring up Coach O, who a lot of people forget. I mean, everyone knows he was here for Pete Carroll years and those massive recruiting. Really got the recruiting rolling with Sean Cody when he wasn't even on staff yet. He was a holdover from the Hackett coaching staff. Stole Sean Cody from Notre Dame. And then we all know what the recruiting was like during the Pete Carroll years. Matter of fact, that was a heyday of recruiting for me on the websites and everything. And then that February signing day, Coach O was just a big part of those huge, just historic classes at USC. And then when Lane Kiffin came to SC, he brought Coach O back to USC. And what do you get? You get recruiting classes that are being sanctioned with only like 13, 14 signees being the top recruiting class, because again, a Coach O has that ability to sell development. I'm going to get you to the NFL. This is you. He gets USC. He understands what USC is about. He can sell that message, right? I think we might have that.
Correct.
I think
he goes over to LSU and wins the championship.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. True. Well, and then I think we might have that in Coach Henderson. Coach Henny.
I agree. Now, Riley, I got to make one point. I'm not convinced that Riley's that great of a coach. His years at Oklahoma, he inherited a team. He didn't recruit that team. And two, we're seeing the same thing at SC, where he starts off good and it starts going downhill. But one thing I'm hearing is that promises are being made to players, and the NIL isn't coming through, and that doesn't make it any easier on these coaches to recruit.
Well, remember this. Lincoln Riley was offensive coordinator at Oklahoma before he became the head coach. And a lot of the success, I think, that turned around Oklahoma, the year before he got there as OC, Oklahoma had 5 losses. You know who the defensive coordinator was? Mike Stoops, Bob Stoops' brother.
I can't recall. Go.
It was Mike Stoops, Bob Stoops' brother, who he inherited as his defensive coordinator, which kind of hamstrung him for those early years. Their defenses were not very good. That had Bob Stoops' handwriting all over it, hiring Mike Stoops. Yeah, and it just seems like Lincoln Riley has had a poor track record of hiring defensive. Well, really, he's only hired 2 defensive coordinators. He had Grinch, and then he's just hired Lynn. And we'll see how Lynn works out. But in reality, if we're talking about inheriting a program, he inherited the defensive coordinator and Mike Stoops. And no one's questioning Riley's offense. I mean, Riley's offense has been a top 5 offense, since he's been a head coach, and that's not been the issue.
Well,
and,
we got.
Well, hang on a second.
Problems.
And a lot of those guys that came over to Oklahoma during those early Oklahoma years, he was OC. He brought them in as well. So really, a lot of the success we're talking about Oklahoma, because the Oklahoma defense sucked. What was good about Oklahoma was the offense. And Lincoln Riley, before he became the head coach. So when we say, what did he inherit? He didn't inherit really a whole lot of anything. He built that offense. The defense was already sucking wind. And I think that he probably made a mistake. Like everyone, hindsight's 2020, bringing Grinch. Now we know it was a mistake. He hung on to him too long, which is another reason. But like you just said about Jen Cohen, Matt, You bring a guy in who comes over with you from Oklahoma. He's probably gonna be fired from Oklahoma anyway, but he comes over from Oklahoma on a plane in the middle of the night, and you fire him in 1 year. What does that look like for defensive coordinators when you're given 1 year to turn around a defense at USC that was pretty bad to begin with the year before? So I mean, there's a lot of mess involved. I think really, if you want to start looking at Lincoln Riley, he's a young coach. This is his hire. This is a hire he's made. I think it's going to be a solid hire. And then we see how they play on the field this year. I think, people tend to forget that he has been a coach for what? How many years has he been a coach? 7 years? 8 years? Matt, help me out.
Well, I mean, he was offensive coordinator at East Carolina before he came to Oklahoma. He was a grad assistant at Texas
head coach. Like head coach.
Well,
head coach.
Head coach was 2017. So, 7 years.
And then yeah. So I mean, you need to. I think fans just get over throwing. He's not a good coach. When does this all start? He's a very good coach. You don't get to. I don't care if you inherit anything. If you get to the playoffs 4 times when you're the offensive coordinator and you're the reason why you're getting there, and you're the head coach, that's pretty significant to me. And I think that he inherited. I think a lot of USC fans forget what USC was like when he showed up here. Don't forget that, where the program was. You can't compare it to like an Urban Meyer who walks into a Tressel situation, or it's not that same situation where you just keep the ball rolling. He didn't inherit a program like that. AJ, what's your point?
Two things. He's not doing a good job of recruiting out of California, and the O-line isn't looking real good right now.
The O-line's not looking good right now. You mean last year or this year?
I mean what we're bringing in.
What we're bringing in. Well, agreed. I'm not going to argue that. I
mean,
agreed.
for an offensive genius, you got to have an O-line.
I think we're talking about the same thing. In order to pull in top quality college players, you need to have an NIL program. I think you got to realize that as well, AJ. Do you think that's Lincoln Riley is the problem there? Or do you think it's because there are programs, I don't know, like Uncle Phil, Oregon, that are paying top dollar for offensive tackles?
Yeah, that's part of it. That's true.
Okay, so is it Lincoln Riley? Is it USC? Is it Jen Cohn? Is it the entire athletic department? There are problems. I'm not sitting up here saying there's nothing wrong at USC right now. Clearly there is when other programs are doing so well, and USC is having difficulty.
One problem is when you can't keep the players in state. With the staff like that, we're losing too many in-state great players that are going elsewhere.
And the other point, well, remember this, okay? Look at the big picture. When did this defensive staff come in? AJ?
It just came.
They just came.
It just came. We just picked up Henderson this year.
And are they from California? Do they have roots in California with Mater Dei and the players at Mater Dei and the coaches at Mater Dei and St. John Bosco and Centennial? Do they know this area?
Well, again, we heard rumblings that Lincoln was he wasn't reaching out to a lot of those programs either prior to this.
Well, we can hear rumblings. My point to you is two things. These players in Southern California grew up being Duck fans, seeing Alabama win championships, seeing Georgia win championships, seeing Ohio State a field goal away from a championship, and they've seen USC lose 5 games here or there, and then deal with what we had to do with for 6 years under Helton. To blame the staff for who just came in the door for the recruiting, I think may not be prudent. Matt, please chime in. Tell me I'm crazy. What am I missing?
You're not crazy. I think the really salient point the caller makes though is that let's go back to Justice Terry and Isaiah Gibson. The fallout from those decommitments is really what has people upset. If USC had retained Terry and Gibson, the fan base would not be upset the way it is. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but what the caller says is that promises were made and apparently they weren't kept, that Terry and Gibson soured on USC. Most like we don't know this for a fact, but the chatter behind the scenes points to they were expecting a certain amount of something and they didn't get it. And Jeff Rodriguez has said, why is Cohen being blamed? And I said earlier on the program that the reason why USC is struggling with NIL is mostly because of the reputational damage done by Alex Grinch. And that's the extension of Lincoln Riley's decision to retain him. So that decision, more than anything Cohen has or hasn't done, is why USC's in this position. That said, if we're going to try and assign some level of responsibility for everything, does Jen Cohen run the NIL operation? No. Okay. But she is, if you're the athletic director, you are the chief fundraiser. You are the fundraiser in chief. President is commander in chief. AD is fundraiser in chief for the athletic program. And so there needed to be conversations of, okay, what's being promised to Justice Terry and Isaiah Gibson in the NIL space? Okay, are we delivering that? Are conversations being had with the people who are running the collective? All right, and with Lincoln Riley being kept in the loop, Lincoln Riley can't run the NIL either, as well as Jen Cohen, but they both need to be in a communications loop with the people who run the collectives, and there all needs to be alignment and agreement and mutual awareness. Are we delivering what's being promised? And someone dropped the ball. Now we can blame the NIL collective most directly, but if we don't know this for sure, but if there were worries about the NIL collective, the AD needs to be on top of that situation. And the AD, if things are being run properly, the AD is going to make sure that there's a donor who can write a check to cover any short-term gap or fix any short-term problem, to make sure that the promises that were made are in fact kept and that the deliverables are delivered. So at some point, someone dropped the ball. And while all the blame doesn't rest up with Jen Cohen, there certainly needs to be structural completeness and there needs to be fullness of alignment. And we don't have that fullness of alignment. And Jen Cohen, as fundraiser in chief, has to be able to knit those things together. Now, I'm not gonna roast her for this state of affairs, but I am gonna say she needs to be able to put the pieces together. That's really what I'm gonna say on this.
And I want to say this too, and I know I speak for you, Matt. We are not saying that we know that none of us are privy to what's actually happening as far as NIL is concerned. We can all follow the breadcrumbs. We can all, listen to articles. An article that came out in the newspaper. There's a lot of stuff you can do, but until you have actual hands-on proof, I will say it's kind of clear that something's getting our butts kicked. But the thing is, just NIL is also probably a bit incomplete. But there is, without a doubt, I don't think anyone here is saying that NIL at USC is okay. We know that. It's just let's stop just short of saying we know that there's promises being made that are being made. Because I don't want to. I certainly, personally, I don't want to say that I don't want that. That's just a rumor. I don't want to keep throwing that rumor out there. This is what people are saying. I am not saying I have any proof that that's actually happening at USC, but I will say there's clearly something wrong with the NIL.
And let me just step in here. What Jeff Rodriguez says below here, entirely on point. And for people who want Jen Cohen fired, we need to stop. And beyond the point I made earlier that you can't fire an AD one year in unless there's something really unethical or inappropriate in terms of
it's not even being discussed.
Conduct.
So let's just get off that topic.
No, but I'm saying beyond that point, which has already been litigated, it's already been mentioned. You also have to acknowledge Jen Cohen, the investments in facilities, the investments in defensive coaches. If you want her fired, you can't just ignore what Jeff is saying below here. But this is also instructive in that, okay, Cohen's handled the facilities, she's handled the defensive coaching staff and given Lincoln Riley the upgrade. So it does mean that her job right now, what she needs to do, what she needs to fix, it's all about the NIL. That is what she needs to be paying attention to now, so that when we get into the next off season in 2025, this stuff is fixed. This stuff is ready to go. All right. So look, we can't we can't repair the NIL ship right now in time for us to, overtake Lanning and overtake Ohio State in this cycle. But when we get into the offseason, and of course, USC needs to have at least 9 wins to take into the offseason and to have some positive forward momentum. Assuming that USC does have an improved performance on the field this season, it's from December through the summer of 2025. That's when we need to see repairs and improvements in the NIL architecture, and that's when we'll be able to tell if Jen Cohn is really making the grade.
All right, we were doing really well in the show, and for some reason, I will take full blame for this. We just kind of went away from the idea of moving through. We've lost 5 calls, and we have 7 in the tank. But since we kept you holding so long, really quick, AJ, anything really quick you want to share with us to retort to any of that?
No, that's it. I just think that when you have offensive genius, I think of Norm Chow. I don't think of Lincoln Riley.
I think Lincoln Riley's proved it. AJ, we'll have to. You and I will have to disagree on that one. I think Norm was great. But
he's coached 3 Heisman winners before turning 41 years old.
Just the numbers. Here's one for you to take away, AJ. He in all the 7, 8, whatever number of years he's been a head coach, his offenses have scored 40 or more points in all but 1 year where he scored 39 points. So that to me is an elite.
Most have been the Big 12 that plays no defense.
That's what they say about the Pac-12 for years as well. And it's fair enough. But, even out of conference, they were pretty good. Look at that Rose Bowl game against Georgia. It wasn't like they got shut out in that game. All right, AJ. Hey, thanks for your call. Really appreciate you. Great ideas. We don't have to listen. This show is not about agreeing. I love it. I love this. That's be a big love fest for USC. I love the criticism. If you want to come in and give this is what this show's all about. This is your show. So AJ, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope you call back again soon.
You guys.
All right, fight on. All right, sorry to the 5 people that hung up because we got a little bit long-winded on that one, but we really want to hit these things. We're gonna try to crank through the calls now. So if you're on hold, don't worry, we're coming to you quick. And if you guys, we have about 20 more minutes of show left, so get your calls in now. Hi, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, my name is Bruce, calling from Mobile, Alabama.
You say Bruce?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Bruce, how you doing? Wow, from across the country.
I do. Oh, yeah. I'm an LA guy. I went to Loyola High School in Venice and USC alum. Grew up in Dorsey High School District. I'm just in Alabama right now on a work contract.
Oh, well, wonderful.
But I called in to make 2 points. One, I know I'm going to get a lot of kickback on. First, out to Matt. Matt, I watch, and Tim, I watch all you guys' shows. And Matt, you referenced Isaiah Rake quite a few times, so I'm getting off the NIL thing. But when Isaiah Rake left, you said you had 2 thoughts in your mind, the first one and the second one, and you went to the second one. But I agree with your first thought. I think Rake came here and saw he wasn't going to start. He got here and said, wait a minute, these guys are good. I don't really have a problem with the defensive line. Look what we got coming back. We got Bear. And when I go back and look up all the cut-up tapes, Jaleel Muhammad had a great season. So we got 2 solid guys coming back. We got Elijah Hughes that gained weight. We got this giant stud, Giant Alexander. We got what's the guy from Texas A&M coming back. And we got Braylon Shelby.
Lucas.
These guys all gained weight. We're going to have the best secondary we ever had. So my first take is that Isaiah Rake thing, I think he got here and saw he wasn't going to start, and I'm not that worried about the defensive line. Now, here's the hot take I think everybody's going to disagree with. I'm worried about our receivers. We do not have a proven core coming back. We always have a proven core coming back. We always have a route runner, an expert route tree runner, always have. Always had a burner. I always had somebody that can take off the top with hands. And these guys are all sophomores coming back. They had a great Holiday Bowl game, but I'm really worried about our receivers. We don't have the same packages as come back, so they're going to have to prove themselves. So now everybody talk about Zachariah Branch. He had to do this fast. Yeah, he's a good punt returner, kick returner, but he hasn't showed much in the passing game. Now, and the last thing about the guy saying about our offensive linemen, I disagree. We're going to be huge in the future. We got some big guys, and we just signed that Vicona, and then you guys had Halen Treater on, giant guy, brilliant guy. I mean, he sounds like a pro interview. I mean, that guy is just
absolutely.
Easiest, A1.
Easiest interview of all
We're
time.
We're going to have to start getting call quarterbacks. Our offensive line is going to be huge in the next 2 years. What do you think? Go ahead and eat me up on the receivers.
Okay, couple things. One, I've been super high on our defense, but I will not say the best secondary ever. I think they're really good, but we've had some pretty damn good secondaries here at USC. But I get your point. I'm hyped. I think it's been the strength of the team without a doubt. Defensive line you brought up. We do have depth, and we do have some young guys. Abasiri, I think you're talking about, from the kid from Minnesota that's coming in. Absolutely massive. Lucas also from A&M. I think we have a lot of depth. Lucas got a lot of accolades for being that versatile guy. A lot of these guys are big, physical, and versatile, can move along that line. So I think it's really built for this defense. But I have to completely disagree with you on the receiver thing. I think maybe I'm hearing you wrong. Maybe you're just saying that they aren't proven. And I'll give you that, because they really, they sat behind guys last year as freshmen. But if you want to talk about that guy, that third down guy, that's gonna be a Taj Washington. I think you saw a little bit of in the Holiday Bowl with Lemon. I think Mikhail Lemon is going to be that guy. Mikhail Lemon also is deceptively fast. He could take the lid off the defense easily, get past, and that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing from him. Also, Deuce Robinson, for a big guy, he's like a long strider, but when he gets out there, he's outrunning guys as well. So I'm not worried. And you already talked about Zachariah Branch. I don't think that we have much to worry about. And everyone's been hyping him now. It's not the cool thing to do anymore. But I mean, wait till the Big Ten gets a look at Jacoby Lane. I mean, I really, the guy has a catch radius the size of the Superdome. I mean, I'm not concerned about our receiving core. What I'm concerned about, and I do think our offensive line is going to be really great at run blocking. I just think with that size, how can they not be? I'm worried about, protection for Miller Moss. I know that you're not going to have to protect him very long. I think he's a very cerebral guy. Before snap, I think he's going to make the right decisions. I think he gets the ball out. I think he's exactly what this Riley offense probably wants right now. But if it's going to be a short season, if Miller Moss can't get protection, or if we have a couple of injuries along that, because we're not, I wouldn't say we're completely deep at tackle. So that's a concern we might have. Matt?
Yeah, and so in terms of receivers, there's a nuance here. These are not, the caller makes the point. These are not proven wide receivers. I mean, narrowly, technically, semantically, that's true, because they played basically a bowl game of maybe a little bit more in the case of a few of those receivers. So narrowly, technically, you could say they're not proven, but they showed a lot of potential, right, in the Holiday Bowl. So it's not as though you're going into the season thinking, well, I haven't seen anything from these guys. It's more of just they haven't played. And I just saw Jeff Rodriguez make the point in the chat. I'm angry that these guys weren't playing more during the season. Yes, like Dorian Singer was a bust. Mario Williams was a bust. Why weren't these younger guys getting more playing time? So I'm not worried about the receivers, but we haven't seen them put together a full season. So that might be really the vantage point or the thought process you're operating on. And narrowly in a small box, that's true. But what we saw in the Holiday Bowl, there's something there, right? So, last year's receiving core, with the primary exception of Taj Washington, was underperforming. So these guys, they certainly seem to have a much higher ceiling. So I wouldn't say, okay, these guys have fully established themselves, but it's only because they weren't given much playing time. Given playing time, we should see them be pretty darn good. And as for the offensive line, you're optimistic. Well, I'm the doubting Thomas. We need to see Josh Henson deliver the goods. But I hope you're right. So that's my verdict on the wide receiver and offensive line units.
Absolutely great call. Nice to hear from alum and fan Bruce. Appreciate you calling in from Mobile, Alabama. So we'd love to hear. Thank you so much for taking the time, first to watch the show, but second also just to call in. We really appreciate you and hope you call in again soon. Thank you so much.
Oh, I will.
All right, fight on, Bruce.
All right, now.
Yeah, good call. All right, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We have 8 calls, and then we're gonna call this a night. Okay, but we do have to roll through them.
So don't, if you haven't called in and you're not on the line, don't call in.
Well, someone just got in, so that's 9. We got 9 callers, right? So we got
No more calls. We'll just take what we have.
I'm turning it off. Okay. Hello, thank you for calling. Well, thank you very much for calling the show. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi guys, it's Dave from Iowa.
Dave, how you doing?
Good. Hey, so for my first point, you guys are talking about the offense because in a sense that's Lincoln Riley's bread and butter. The last time I checked, defense matters in college. Defense doesn't matter so much in the NFL. So in that sense, if you're all about offense, follow an NFL team. But if you care about both, and it should be the same way in terms of head coaches, follow college football. But anyway, the one thing I wanted to bring up was, it kind of didn't get brought up, or maybe it did, and I didn't hear it a couple weeks ago. But on Trojan Blade's show, titled "Breaking Down USC's NIL Crisis," he said he has a quote from the Insider, and since I have it right now, I'll just say the quote if you don't mind. There's a major disconnect between the head coach and the collective. It's getting to the point that the head coach is considering all options. So from your perspective, since we all like to speculate here on the show, what's your guys' take on what that quote means, specifically that end part of the head coach is considering all options?
I think I've already said it. I think that if USC doesn't get its stuff together, that Lincoln Riley, I wish I would have wrote him down when I heard him say it a couple times. He said, "Hey, look, we're going to be here as long as we keep this going." He's made reference to that he was told things were going to happen. And I do truly believe it. How can you hold to a guy that if you're going to make him promises, he gets here, he's ready to rock and roll? Again, I will argue that anybody that tells me that Lincoln Riley is not a top 5 collegiate coach all day long until I'm blue in the face. He needs to be given the opportunity to be great, like a Kirby Smart, like a Nick Saban, given the same, for instance, everyone talks about Day, they question if he's a good coach, but, well, he keeps winning. Ohio State's a machine. I mean, what they've been doing in college football for decades now is just they've got a well-oiled machine where your coach gets support. And if you have a quality coach, you're going to win at the highest level. I don't know if that is in place here at USC at this point. I think USC is trying to build towards that. But no, I don't see Riley hanging around if he's not given what he was promised. Matt, your thoughts?
Nothing to add. You said it great.
Okay. Yeah, it's a great
point.
Gotcha.
And then, hey, I just wanted to bring up, you brought up Kirby Smart and Saban, the idea of those two succeeding because, in a sense, the athletic department was behind them. I will say the main difference between those two and Lincoln Riley, and basically every team that's won a national championships since the turn of the century, except less than 5 head coaches, all had defensive minds. So to the point of so I'm not saying that Lincoln Riley isn't a top 5 head coach, but how can you, from history and the recent history has shown, if you have a defensive-minded head coach, you're more likely to succeed. From that perspective, do you think Lincoln Riley should truly just, find an offensive coordinator that he can trust, let him take over, and actually be a head coach in terms of the right hires, maintaining those hires, and the right culture that it seems like, who's to say if it may not seem that appealing, but there's some question marks here or there. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't totally agree with your premise about defensive guys winning championships, because you ever heard of Urban Meyer? Are you familiar with him? He's pretty much Gus Malzahn. Have you heard of that guy? Now, granted, he
okay, that's Cam Newton. 2. Well, I said less than 5. Can you name more than 5? Tim?
Less than 5. I mean, I just don't think your point's as strong as you want to be.
Less than 5.
It is. It's very strong, Tim.
Okay, well, we appreciate your viewpoint, Dave. I don't think you have to be because look, of the past 20 years, how many have won by Nick Saban? Now cut that group out, right? So you take that off the top. I don't.
But you can't because he won it.
Okay, so Dave, I'm not going to argue.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I mean, Saban and Smart have gobbled up quite a lot of titles. So like, does that mean it's a defensive coach thing, or just that they're exceptionally great at recruiting, building programs? I mean, if we saw a wide cross section of defensive coaches winning championships, and it was a different defensive coach every other year or every 3 years, like that would be one thing. But just like the two really big dogs, Saban and Kirby, are defensive coaches, ergo you need a defensive coach. See, I'm not comfortable with that. I mean, Auburn won its national title because of offense, not defense, in 2010. LSU won its national title in 2019 because of offense, not defense. Dabo won his national titles because of offense, his defenses were good, but his offenses were great. So, yeah, I don't think you can say because Saban and Kirby have won, it's a defensive coach thing. I don't think you can cut it that cleanly.
That's like one of those message boards axioms that gets kicked around all the time. That you got to defense. I mean, that's just incorrect. It's incomplete. I'm going to tell you the fact that you have, if you're all offense, no defense, or if you're all defense, no offense, yeah, you're probably not going to win championships. But if you have an elite offense with a competent defense, look at LSU 2019, you can win. And I think that the myth of Lincoln Riley not wanting to, or thinks he doesn't need or all the other bullshit people throw out there. I've never met or heard a head coach that doesn't care about defense. Can we, as fan base, at least let all the idiots say it out that want to take shots at USC? But at least Trojans, can you guys be smart? There are no head coaches out there, none, that don't care about defense. Can we get rid of that stupid saying in our fan base? Let other people say it. We're not going to say it anymore. Yes, in 1 second you can respond, Dave. But I think that I think you're in 1 second. I think you need to realize that it's not as cut and dry as you want to make it sound. No, you don't need a defensive head coach to win national championships. Matt just did a better job of laying out for me. But again, I'll just sit back and say Urban Meyer, and then I'll leave it. Go ahead.
Okay, can I respond?
We're waiting.
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. So all those defensive-minded head coaches that, Matt, you responded with, yes, their offense is won. But, hey, it seems to me like, hey, the defensive-minded head coaches, maybe they just understand the team effort versus an offensive-minded head coach. The idea of like, hey, we're aggressive on defense. We're going to use that same aggression from our own certain way in terms of the offense. And if anything, that's what I'm concerned of what Lanning is doing at Oregon, because Lanning is turning into Kirby Smart 2.0 if he wins a national championship, and that will be detrimental to the city of LA, to USC.
If Lanning wins a national championship, he's going to win it off of his roster, not because of Dan Lanning. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to ask you a point blank question, Dave. You love to ask me questions. I'm asking you right now. Who would you rather have as your head coach? Dan Lanning, right now. Would you take, so not roster, you can't bring his roster with them. Would you, as a head coach, would you like Dan Lanning or Lincoln Riley? I'm taking Lincoln Riley every day and twice on Sunday. Go right ahead.
And
Matt, let him answer first.
Hold on. I get to say something here. If we're going to do the offensive coach versus defensive coach thing, Dan Lanning or Kalen DeBoer. Right? Who's Matt,
your turn could be next. I'm asking Dave a question. Dave, today you are the AD at USC. Who are you hiring? Lincoln Riley or Dan Lanning?
Right now, that's tough. The last time I checked, in terms of history, Dan Lanning has won a national championship as a coordinator, so he knows what it takes. He knows the culture, and he's replicating it at Georgia. At Oregon from Georgia.
So you're taking Dan Lanning?
Yes. Mainly because he's at least won a national championship, and he knows what it takes.
He was a coordinator on a team that won a national championship.
Please. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm saying it. He at least in the moments when they won a national championship, he was there, and he was a coordinator. He was the one making those adjustments, making those calls on the defensive side.
Got you. Now answer really quick, so we're running over too long on this call.
Yeah.
Really quickly, the defenses versus the offensive coach. Who are you taking, DeBoer or Lanning?
DeBoer versus Lanning. DeBoer or Lanning. Well, hey, so I'm going to enter my word in terms of history shows. Hey, DeBoer is 3-0 against Lanning, so I'd take DeBoer. But in terms of, again,
the offensive coach over the defensive coach.
I'm just saying, in terms of those two instances, yes. In terms of those two instances, yes.
Okay, so the offensive coach over the defensive-minded coach.
What?
The defensive-minded coach. The offensive coach over the defensive coach. Is that correct?
For that one instance, mainly because DeBoer is 3-0 against Lanning. DeBoer knows how to manage the game, and he knows how to game plan against Lanning. That's the only reason why.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate your call. Thank you. I hope you call in again soon. Have a great day.
Right on.
All right. Next call. We're down to 5 calls, and we are going to move fast. Sorry, we spent way too much on that call. That no offense, Dave. You've been a loyal caller, but that was an absurd phone call. And just so you know, you just chose Dan Lanning over Lincoln Riley. Just remember that one. Hello. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, Chris from San Jose.
Chris from San Jose. What's up, Chris?
Yeah, things are good. Just a few things. On top of the, Lincoln Riley being great offensive mind, he is. But I also think the points per game, for instance, is a little bit overrated. These days, there's so many teams that are scoring high 30s, even, low 40s. I don't even think USC led the conference in scoring last year. I believe Oregon did. So I think from a scoring standpoint, he's a great offensive coordinator. I'm not saying he's not, but I think the points could be a little misleading. Number 2, you guys made the point a few callers ago about recruiting locally and kind of saying, we got new assistant coaches. True. But in the end, it's speed of the leader, speed of the pack. When Lincoln Riley got here, that would have been November of 22, I believe. He needs to start doing his homework. Who are the freshmen? Who are the sophomores in Southern California that we need to hone in on? That comes from the top, not the assistants. You also have the option of, again, hiring guys from the Southern California Tide. He hasn't done that. So let's be honest. He hasn't really prioritized. I don't think he has. I might be wrong, but I got a feeling all of us, you guys do a great job, by the way, but we all read the same stuff. We all read the same insiders. It starts from him. He should know, hey, these are the guys we need. These are the guys we need to prioritize. And as you know, he's prioritizing Texas. Number 2, my other point was the coaches, these assistant coaches, and I'll use Belk and I'll use Henderson, especially as an example. These 2 dudes, they could go anywhere, I bet, in the nation. And they didn't sign up for this. Henderson did not sign up to leave the NFL to coach the best players in the world, to come to USC and probably go, you know what, not to be a developmental guy. I'm not coaching that. I'm thinking I'm going to get 5-star dudes. Well, as we're talking about, NIL is kind of screwing them right now. So can you imagine? You can't tell me Alabama or if Larry Johnson leaves Ohio State, how much money they're going to offer this guy? He would leave in a heartbeat. Because you know what? We have the packages and deal. We can get these dudes. They're going to offer that guy money. And Belk could probably go anywhere as well in the nation. We talked about Ems, what his plan, totally understand, and the other guys. But I'm just thinking of those 2 guys. And then the last thing, Julian Lewis, and I think they're just totally, this is where all the money's going, is to him. But the same thing is like, you know what? He hasn't shut it down. And he's probably looking at, you know what? If we're not going to get guys around me to make me better and the team better, screw it. I will go to Colorado and I'll probably get double what I'm getting at USC. So I know you have a lot of callers going on. Thanks for taking my time. I just want to throw that in. But, those are things I kind of, believe, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. The last thing you said about Julian Lewis kind of freaks me out. Because if you remember, there's a guy who won a Heisman named Bryce Young. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, but either he was super strong, or he had actually committed. I think he committed to USC.
Yeah.
And he was trying to build a class, and he couldn't get anyone to come play. And he said, hell, I don't need this. I'm going to go to Alabama, win a national championship in the Heisman. I mean, so when you say that, it is worrisome that if his camp sees the fact that USC can't bring in a line to protect him, receivers to throw to, etc. Now, again, we just signed Corey Sims, and we took him away from, a situation where it was Penn State and Missouri, but there were some players in it for Sims. It wasn't like he just fell in our lap. And I know that he was a guy that
average.
Julian, you say he's average?
No. I'm saying no. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think I'm on the same page. I mean, wouldn't you? I think all of us would have expected maybe some better receivers as well. I'm not saying anything against Sims.
I'm gonna, thing I'm gonna trust.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'm gonna trust this staff of who they want to go after and who they're gonna get. So far, they've hit on their. I'm not a stars guy. I'm not a 247 rivals. Whatever on 3. I think they do it again. We're not going to, but they do a great job. But just because they call the guy this, tell me what was Drake London? How they rate Drake London as a receiver? Anyway, let's stick on to your points. So Julian Lewis, he's not. I mean, come on, he's not getting like. He's not getting he's getting a good chunk, but he's not taking money away from these other players. I don't know the situation of the NIL. Quite frankly, I'll defer to guys like Gabe, and other people in the space that have a little more information. I mean, I have information on it, but I'm just not comfortable speaking to it like the other guys are. As far as the coaches, they're not going to hang around. Like you said, they got plenty of options. I talked about it already in the show, so I'm not going to hit that again. So there's plenty. The USC better get his crap together, because these guys are not going to sit around for mediocrity. Any of them, including Lincoln Riley. And then I'll go back to it again. As far as the local talent, I love the local talent. I'm a St. John Bosco alum. I go to the high school games here in California, in Southern California, a lot. I live right down the street from Los Alamitos. I go watch these games. I enjoy watching them. However, these kids didn't grow up Trojan fans like we've seen in previous generations. That's what the Helton era did to these kids. They're all quacking up north. A lot of these guys don't know our coaching staffs. They don't have relationships with coaching staffs. Our coaching staffs try to come in last minute and try to build these relationships. It's not that easy. And couple that with NIL not working, it's no surprise how we're doing. And I'm not blaming the coaching staff on that one. So I think as they're here, they're going to get their roots. I think you're going to start seeing more and more California kids getting to know these, building relationships with these coaches, and then we'll see more and more California. As far as the first recruiting class for Riley, yeah, if you look at who he was recruiting, he's recruiting the guys like Brown, right? That were guys that he was already recruiting from Oklahoma, and they had such little time, they just stuck on those recruits and tried to throw together a class. So those are my points. Chris, Matt, anything to add?
Nope.
All right. Sorry. Hey, Chris, thank you so much. We're going to move faster through these calls. Somebody had a point about 2-hour calls. There's no way I can get Matt to do more than Matt's already mad. We're over an hour, so I can't do a 2-hour show. Maybe I'll do a show on my other channel and we'll take more phone calls. How about we'll do that? But thank you, Chris, for calling in. Next call. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Dan from LA.
Dan, nice to hear from you again. How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. I mean, first, I was just gonna say I believe USC is going 11-1. I don't care what anyone say or what opinions they say. It's not going to change my mind until it's proven on the field. So as of right now, USC is going to go 11-1. I just believe that they have a lot of talent on defense that has untapped talent that these guys are going to bring out onto the field and see. We're going to have a defense secondary, and if Lynn and these boys can get the defensive line and have a good scheme. If the quarterback doesn't have time, the secondary is going to eat. Just plain and simple, basic football defense economics. So I think they're going to go 11-1. I don't know who they're going to lose to. I believe it'll be a game that USC just falls asleep in because it's a new schedule. But it'll be someone that we're maybe Washington, somebody we shouldn't be losing to. I think we'll lose one game, but 11-1. That's just what I feel. And then second thing. I forgot what I was going to say. I was on hold for a while, but I know I had something to say.
It's all right. Take your time. Take a second to think about it. I think that USC is probably it's a good guess to say that USC might drop a game late in the season that we were penciling in for a win, because I have some. Again, I'm hoping that these young players can prove me wrong. But until we show that we have depth at certain positions, especially along the line, we may have trouble late in the season, kind of like we ran into last year. Did you think about your thought?
While the caller remembers what the other point he wanted to make, I would just say this. Right now, if you tell me USC is going 10-2, where can I sign?
Let's go.
Where can I sign? I will sign on the dotted line I would be prepared to, offer
That would be a great season.
several $100s to a charity of your choice. Like if you say 10-2 right now, done deal, give it to me. I'll take it. Like that would be amazing.
With this schedule, 10-2 would be a phenomenal season. Absolutely, I agree. Dan, do you remember what you wanted last point?
Yeah, I believe. No, I remember. I was just gonna say I believe people forgot about Jamil Muhammad. The defense we ran last year, he started off hot, but he slowed down. But I think that this guy's gonna be a beast this year. Back there in that second, he kind of reminds me of the guy, the linebacker from Kansas City who stepped over the line that time. He's no longer in the league from his injuries, but he stepped over the line in an AFC game.
D Ford
to not go to the championship against the Patriots. D Ford. That's what he reminds me of. You can put on the table D Ford and watch. D Ford.
That's the concern.
Put on the table D Ford and then watch Jamil Muhammad stay too. They're pretty similar players.
I have no information on this.
So they can at least set out of him.
I have no information to back this up, Dan. I have no information to back this up. But it's kind of what I'm trying to say to you guys. When your defensive line gets too many reps, they get dinged up a little bit. And when we say they disappeared later in the year, I don't know. Was he injured? Was he playing 100%? There were a couple of players I had questions about that just weren't playing the way they played early in the season. Was it the competition, or was it the, maybe worn down? It was a little bit of both. But the one thing I can say is I think that there were some players, we don't know who they are, that are playing not at 100%, and that can affect your productivity on the field. So appreciate it. Listen, Dan, thanks a lot for calling.
I don't remember my other point.
We got to go.
Yeah, I don't remember my other point. I'll just bring it up probably on Friday. But offensive coaches are the ones that win championships. Look at the NFL.
All right, make sure you're following Twitter. I think we're going to pop up and do a phone show either tonight or tomorrow night. I don't know. We'll do a secondary show because I need to get some followers on their channel anyway. All right, next caller. Appreciate Dan. Thanks so much for calling in, and I hope to hear you from you next week. Okay, 2 more calls, Matt. We've lost a bunch of calls, and that's my fault. We're getting better at this. Oh, wait, sorry. 3 calls left. Sorry. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Kevin calling from Lancaster again.
Hey, Kevin.
Yeah, I just had a question, and it's mainly involving the offensive, defensive line recruiting. If, in your opinions, do you guys feel like this staff is prioritizing just trying to bring in the most talented players, or players that they're actually shown growth and development over their course of their high school careers?
Great question. No, I mean, well, I think the latter. I think all coaching staffs do that. I would love to know, Matt. This would be a great, really, if I knew like head coaches better, wouldn't you love to sit down with about 5 or 6 of the top head coaches, go, hey, so how often do you look at the 247 rankings? And you tell your position coaches, hey, go check out this guy. 247 has him as a 5-star. I mean, I'm thinking that's probably not happening very often. You know what I mean? I think they're doing their own evaluations. I think they know coaches, high school coaches. That's how you build. That's why you build those relationships. And then they do their own evaluations. I'm not saying that these scouting services aren't great and they aren't good, but I'm going to take the opinion when it comes to a receiver. What Lincoln Riley is looking at, what he wants, as far as on defense for his scheme, when we're looking at linebackers and defensive linemen, I'm going to want to know when Danton Lynn thinks about the player, not what some guy over at On3 thinks about that and where he ranks among the other players in the country. I think they're looking at their scheme and their defenses. I think they're looking at the raw ability and what they think they could do with these kids. I think I would hope that any great coach is kind of like an artist. They look at that lump of clay and they say, okay, what can I build with this thing? And that's where I think that where a lot of people are missing when they go star hunting, especially on the offensive line. Matt?
Now, my other question is, go ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead.
Well, my other question is, in terms of this NIL era in regards to evaluations, do you guys believe that our evaluations have to be even more heightened with this NIL era?
Say more.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think you have to. Yeah, you don't have the room to miss as much anymore. Yeah, more. because you have I would say if coached in the 70s and there was unlimited scholarships or whenever that started with the 85-man scholarship, I think you could just go and gobble up as many people as you wanted. But now it's even more so than you had with these 85-man scholarships. If you're going to allocate a bunch of money to a kid that turns out being a bust, and you have a finite amount of money to spread around to these kids, I think your evaluations have to be tighter than they have been in the past.
There's no question that USC's lagged in the evaluation department. So.
All right, Kevin, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hope you call in next week.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You too. All right, we're down. And then there were two, Matt. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Eastville.
Hi. Can you turn your, I guess maybe turn your TV down in the background?
Done.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who's this?
Brent.
And where are you calling from?
Eastville, California.
Where?
Eastville, California.
Eastville, California. Okay, go ahead. What's your question or your comment?
Just going to make a comment about Riley, NIL, Pete Carroll, 2004 championship team, and the Cali kids. Why we're missing out on Cali kids.
Okay, go ahead.
Make it real quick. Hello?
Yeah, it's all you. We're listening. What do you want to talk about? So go ahead.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Good. So,
hey Tim. First of all, I'm gonna say this right now. I'm never gonna forgive you for being such a Grinch bootlicker. Never. But I respect your show, and I respect what you and Matt do. Now, secondly,
actually,
I'm gonna push.
Firstly, no, sorry. Hang on there, Slick. Let's go back to the comment you said that I was a bootlicker. So let's start with that one. Go ahead, back that one up before we go anywhere else.
Okay. For the longest, you just kept preaching about Grinch. No, let's go ahead and continue. No, let's believe in him. Let's back him up. Yada, yada, yada. That was our problem from day one.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I think what you're trying to articulate is that at the beginning of the season last year, I said, he's going to be the defensive coordinator. Let's hope that the additions they have to this team are going to make it better. I think that we got better along the defensive line and at linebacker. Let's hope, because all we can do is hope. And I said the closest I came to being a Grinch guy was when I would always, Matt, you could back me up if I'm wrong on this. I would always say, I don't know what it is, but Lincoln Riley, Mike Leach, and Meyer all saw something in this guy, and we're just waiting for it to materialize. I literally said that about 150 times last year. Never, and Matt, let me know. When did I ever say, this is the guy, everyone's crazy, I think that the Grinch is the answer, and that everyone get in line because you're all wrong. Did I ever say that last year? Even once?
No, you did not say that. I think what, okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Please be completely candid.
Well, I think where the caller is coming from, since, the caller is simply, I think, saying that, I was more out in front and saying, Grinch needed to be fired. Grinch needed to not be retained. You were a little bit more wait and see. But yeah, it never got to a point where you thought Grinch was the answer, So like that, I would definitely agree with you, Tim.
No, you're right. I also think I did say what I said before. I said it's really hard to bring it. Like I said earlier in the show, I said you can't bring a guy over from Oklahoma and then basically in his 1 year and just fire him. I said you would need to have a really solid reason. Either A, bring in a top name, defensive coordinator, or you would need to have, basically say, because remember that you're right. That defense got bailed out by all those turnovers and a great offense is really what that was. That was still a very bad defense, but they were winning games on the shoulders of the offense. And I think I remember saying that because we could all agree, it wasn't like that 2022 team was full of stars along the defensive line and at key positions. There were some serious lack of players on that team with depth. So I was saying, who knows? Maybe if they get some depth, maybe it'll get better. But I never once, don't ever call me a bootlicker, number one, because quite frankly, get your facts straight. I was never a Grinch guy. I kept hoping that it would be figured out. Now go ahead. Explain your side on me and why I'm
Okay,
a
thank you.
bootlicker.
So,
I'm still waiting
okay,
for why I'm a
so
bootlicker.
maybe that was the wrong. Okay, so maybe that was the wrong term. All right, let me erase that term because I knew from day one that they never should have been on that plane from Norman to come to LA. All right, so what I should say is that I think he was somewhat more supportive of him coming to USC and seeing what he can do when a lot of us knew exactly what he was going to do. So let me go ahead and finish because I want to make a few points and you guys are going to make comments after.
I'm going to really quickly respond to that because really quickly, no, I'm not going to let you get away with that you knew what he was going to be. Great if you knew what he's going to be. I literally have only ever said in my defense of Alex Grinch is that 3 great coaches hired him. Literally, that is the entirety of my defense for Alex Grinch. I challenge anybody to say otherwise. And because he was our head coach, I kept hoping that he would turn it around. I never once gave my endorsement. Never once said this is the guy. Never once. I'm on video all the time. Go back and get me I would love it. Get me a clip of me saying, Alex Grinch, you guys are wrong. Alex Grinch is the right guy for our defense. I'll wait. Because listen, unlike you, I've been on hours of content talking about Alex Grinch, and never once have I said, Alex Grinch is our defensive coordinator of the future. Never. So don't ever put that in my mouth. Now, do you have a point to make besides me?
Next point.
Yeah, just so please, yes. Just please stop cutting me off. Let me go ahead and make my point. So
actually, all right, next call. All right, we got one more call coming. Let's see. And then we'll call today. Sorry, but don't call in and start talking smack about me that you have no idea what you're talking about. Calling me a bootlicker and telling me that I was an Alex Grinch fan. That's just absurd. No, we don't think we have any calls. Maybe we can get out of here early now. We have one call left. Wow, that guy is a piece of work.
Okay, we still have one on the line, or
yeah, I don't know what the service is. I'm waiting for it to come through. It says in our thing that we have one call coming through. Sometimes it takes a minute to lag in.
Okay.
But maybe we can just wrap it up right now.
But well, let's see if the call comes through.
Well, they've been waiting 47 minutes. That guy waited 40 minutes to come here and tell me I'm a bootlicker. Jesus Christ. Good God. I mean, it would be great. It would be great, Matt, if I had been here and I was saying constantly defending Alex Grinch last year and the year before. It would have been something. Literally, I would own it. I would say, yeah, hey, I was a big supporter. Boy, oh my God, I got that wrong. I literally had problems with the defense and brought them up more than at least once or twice a show, saying that we're living off of turnovers, saying that you can't rely on this, bringing up the point that, when I had the interview with Phil Steele, where he said that, it's just a proven. If you're plus 15 or sorry, plus 10 in the turnover the year before, you're almost guaranteed a -2 in the win category the next year. And I kept saying that. And then this guy has the oh man. Ugh.
Anyway, so
do me a favor,
we got our
call show again. Thank you.
We got our fireworks on 4th of July weekend.
Good Lord. Oh, there's always one in the fan base, and I think we found him tonight. Hello. Thank you, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Uncle Boom from the Bay Area.
What's up, Uncle Boom? I know that name. How you doing?
It's going good, man. Just been waiting patiently for you guys.
Oh well, I'm glad you waited. You waited way too long, Uncle Boom. You gotta get me I got your phone number now. I'm going to move you to a different category so you get moved up. Thank you for waiting, like you did. Take your time. What's on your mind?
Just a few things. I'm not going to take up too much time. I know you guys got to get going, but as far as Julian Lewis is concerned, I mean, I believe if anybody's really worried about him flipping, if he ends up flipping before the season, we have a shot at flipping him before December 15th or on signing day, December 15th. I don't think Colorado's a factor. If you look at the recruiting class right now, it's ranked 80th or 81st.
Great point.
Depends on what recruiting site you want to look at. and our only competition is Auburn. They're ranked 13th right now.
And they're losing, and they're
as far as Julian losing.
Sorry to jump in, but they're losing recruits left and right as well. Their class is kind of falling apart too. Good point.
Yeah. So I really don't believe Colorado is really a factor. Yes, Dion can, talk his game and he sells a good one. But at the end of the day, they only got 5 recruits in their 2025 class right now, and it's not looking good for them because they still got to go out and win.
Yeah. I think winning will. Well, I mean, Matt said it the best. I mean, once they see the defense, right? The biggest problem was watching that Grinch defense, the one that I bootlicked for a while. That really turned off a lot of recruits. And so the best way to fix that is going to be to show on the field, so Brent, if you're out there, I am right now saying, yes, I think this defense is going to be remarkably better than it was last year. And that there will be, when there's recruits out there watching this defense, they will see themselves in this defense. Now they have to go out there and do that, but I think that'll be a big change. And the other part of that is again, this coaching staff is getting to know the local coaches and local players, and they've been recruiting them now for about a year now. So I mean, that's also going to pay us some dividends. Sorry, go ahead.
I believe that as well. And as long as a competent product is put on the field this year, with Deonton Lynn, Coach Henney, Coach Nua, Coach Ent, Coach Belk, I believe everything will start falling into place. I know we're not getting recruits right now, but at the end of the day, it's still a long way from March 15th and February 2nd for 2025, and we still got a long way to go. And I believe we'll end up having some flips coming up during the season, and maybe some new guys down the pipeline. So I believe we have a lot to look forward to going into 2025. Hopefully, I believe we'll have a great season offensively and a better season defensively for sure. And recruiting the Southern California kids, talking to some people that I do know on Twitter that are connected with USC, these kids really don't care about the USC legacy that most fans, know about. They, especially with California kids, they just care about, how much money they can get, and that's why we're losing kids at Texas A&M. No one from California grew up rooting for Texas A&M.
Right? Yeah. Noah Mikhail did not have a Texas A&M T-shirt in middle school when he's throwing the football around the backyards. They're trying to tell me.
Exactly.
Right.
Or when he was a child, or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Marco Jones. It came down with Marco Jones with the baseball scholarship. The new head coach at Texas A&M ended up keeping his baseball scholarship on the table. So that played a big factor in his recruitment. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Los Angeles or College Station. I mean, I know LA is not for everybody, and I'm sure College Station has some beautiful things. But I don't think these kids grew up dreaming of going to College Station. But there is no denying money is a very powerful tool, and good for these kids. If they're gonna get a bunch of money, then they need to make sure that they're not gonna forfeit money down the line. Having the opportunity to be coached up by this defense, you might get a couple dollars today, but you might be sorry in the future that you didn't, because that first year contract and then sticking in the league and getting your second year contract, that's going to make any of this, and I don't care, $3-4 million, any of this NIL money is going to look like pocket change.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, great call.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Well, listen, you waited 40 minutes. Let me ask you one more quick question, because I'm sorry, Matt. He's on hold for 40 minutes. Really quickly, what do you think about the offensive line? 'Cause you know your stuff. What do you think about twofold? How do you think the offensive line is going to be this year, and what do you see the recruiting? How are you feeling on recruiting?
I believe if Josh Henson just believes in his abilities as a coach and lets all the kids play their natural positions and stop doing the mix and match stuff. This is, at the end of the day, I don't believe he needs to do all that. If he believes in the product that he has and believes in his capability as a coach, I believe we'll be fine. At the end of the day, I believe we have a strong left side in Elijah Page. The kid was committed to Notre Dame for a reason, and he would have been a freak of nature or a force at Notre Dame. And I'm glad we have him. So I think he's going to be our lockdown, left tackle. I think Emmanuel Pregnon is going to improve. this year. I think our center play is going to be above average. I think it will be fine. I mean, if anything, the only problem is going to be the right side of the line. But if we have improvement from our offensive line coach that we think is going to happen this year, I believe we'll be fine. And I think Miller Moss is going to run the offense a lot differently than Caleb Williams did last year, which, you know, it might look a little bit different. And then offensive line recruiting, winning changes everything as well. Last year put a lot of sour taste in a lot of recruits' mouth, I bet. You know, the offensive line didn't play well at all throughout the season, and it just got worse going throughout. So, except for the bowl game. And but I believe this year, if everything, you know, like I said, Coach Henson believes in his abilities as a coach, I believe everything will be fine and recruiting will be on uptick.
See, Uncle Boom, that's why I gave you the platform. Uncle Boom knows ball. Appreciate that. Great breakdown. Thank you so much for calling, and thanks for even watching our show, by the way, and calling in. Appreciate you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, great call. I wish all the calls could be like that. Thanks. I hope you call again soon.
Thanks for the time, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, fight on. Appreciate you. All right.
Okay,
well,
before we go, just want to say, Jeff Rodriguez has said if we do a 2-hour show, can you pay us to extend to a 2-hour show? Folks, and this is not just for Jeff, this is for everyone. Look, if you want us to do 2 hours, I'm just going to put it out there. We will be happy to do a 1-hour free show of calls and then a second hour of bonus calls for our membership for payment. Like I'm not against the idea of doing calls, but like I do not get a salary for each show. You know, it's dependent on donor donations. If we did took a second hour of calls, we give you 1 hour free, and then we give you a second hour of members only calls for payment. We would love to do that, but we would have to have enough demand for that. But like, if you guys are up for it, if you want to join as memberships, provide that regular monthly payment to the USC channel here at the Voice of College Football, yes, we would love to do that on a regular basis. If you have ever wondered that, yes, we'd love to do that. But right now, I don't get paid for this, so that's why I get antsy sometimes, because my mom needs me to take care of the dogs, take care of the pets, do some dishes. You know, like this thing doesn't run itself. So.
Yeah, and you guys, if you want, I don't know if I roped Gabe into it, but we went live about 2 weeks ago before Gabe moved to Arizona. And we went live, and like I said, we might be going live for that because I got to get the subs up on that channel as well. So if you haven't subscribed to that channel or you don't have my Twitter, those are the only ways you got to find out about it. I think I'm gonna rope Gabe into it. See if Nico could do it again as well. We're gonna pop in because you can't expect for people to be on here for 2 hours. We love all you guys and we love doing the show, but we also have other responsibilities. And so I'm lucky to get Matt to come join us, and so to break it away from editing over at Trojans Wire in order to do this. So appreciate you guys. We should appreciate. By the way, it was an hour and a half. By the way, so we're almost to 2 hours. So we are going to get out of here. But make sure you follow me. It's the channel is Trojan Conquest. Go check it out. I might have it in the description of this. Go sub up my other channel, my little personal channel. But all of our shows are here on Mondays and Fridays at 7 p.m. Nothing changes here. You have Matt and myself on Fridays, Matt, Mark, and I on Matt, Mark, and me on Mondays at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. You ready, Matt?
I would just say, on our Monday show with Mark, if you guys just would want to pay us for a second hour every Friday of calls, and maybe Tim lines up some guests to kind of spice things up, add some value to that second bonus hour for USC members. Like, if there are enough of you willing to pay, we'll do it. All right, we'll make it happen. But there has to be a return on investment for Tim and myself. This is a holiday weekend. We could be doing lots of other things, but we love you, our audience. But if we're going to devote 2 hours, there's got to be a return.
All right.
Just going to put it out there. Yeah.
Thank you guys all for being here. Appreciate you all very much. We had Uncle Boom, Kevin from Lancaster, Dan from LA, Dave from Iowa, Chris from San Jose, Bruce from Mobile, Alabama, AJ from LA, Christian, I'm sorry, I didn't catch where you were from, 906 Trojan from, that'd be Sacramento, and Buckeye Mark to start off the show. Thank you guys. Great show. For the 7 people that we missed out on, I'm so sorry, but we will do our best. Appreciate everyone being here. I look forward to seeing you guys on Monday night. Fight on. Have a safe weekend.